Like, I'm feeling threatened by you right now. I'm feeling a little bit of aggression from you. I'm feeling fear from you. Can you share more about where that's coming from? I'm not afraid. Oh, okay. Huh. Because that reaction is really kind of defensive, and it makes me feel like what I'm asking you is agitating you, and I don't want to agitate you. I want to quell the situation. And in order to quell the situation, I want to hear what's going on with you. Can you share with me what's going on with you? That's how you might want to approach conversations in relationships. Do you have the courage to be curious in your relationships, and do you have the courage to listen? Welcome to the Weekly Transit, your guide to understanding the current planetary and astral alignments. Together, we'll explore how to harness these cosmic frequencies, empowering you to reach your highest potential as you navigate the days ahead. I'm your host, Scott Tajarian. Welcome to the Weekly Transit. This is the week of July 14th to the 20th, where we will be covering 5 transits highlighted by Mercury beginning its retrograde transit in Leo. This transit begins on Thursday, July 17th. Mercury entered its retrograde shadow on June 29th. The retrograde begins at 15 degrees and 34 minutes on July 17th and concludes at 4 degrees and 14 minutes on August 11th. So August 11th, Mercury will be back where it was on June 29th. Mercury will transit out of its retrograde shadow on August 25th. That's when Mercury will be exactly where it was on July 17th. So from Monday, July 14th through to Monday, July 21st, Mercury is going to be at 15 degrees. That's 7 days of Mercury at the same degree. Mercury typically moves 1 to 2 degrees a day. So not moving for 7 days is going to create a lot of mental tension, potentially some tension mentally and with the heart, because Leo rules the heart, connecting the heart to the mind. For those who are born with planets or key astrological points in Taurus or Scorpio, especially in the early part of the retrograde, if you were born with planets or key astrological points between 13 and 17 degrees in Scorpio, you may be feeling a lot of tension this next week. For instance, if you were born with Venus in Taurus, perhaps there's tension around communication in your relationships, and that tension may be centered upon your heart and what your heart really wants. You're not able to receive because it doesn't exist in the material realm. So the desires of your heart are not being reflected in your reality. If you were born with Venus between 13 and 17 degrees in Scorpio, you may feel like you're being pulled out of your shell. The passion of your desires that you keep beneath the surface are coming out and roaring in your relationships. And not just relationships with lovers, but friends or business partners as well. If you were born, for those who were born in the late 80s and early 90s, you were born with Pluto around those same degrees, 13 to 17 degrees in Scorpio, you may be going through an intense mental transformation, which is meant to connect your mind to your heart so that you can articulate your desires with words. If you were born with, say, Saturn between 13 and 17 degrees in Taurus, then you may be experiencing mental restriction because the desires of your heart are not being met by your reality, your material reality. Your material reality is restricting the desires of your heart. Since 1900, Mercury has retrograded through the teen to single-digit degrees of Leo 8 times. This summer from July 17th to August 11th marks the 9th. Leo is the fixed fire sign symbolized by the lion and ruled by the sun, the planet of light, life, and vitality. Mercury is the messenger of the gods, guide of souls to the underworld, the planet of consciousness, communication, and coordination. When Mercury stations retrograde in the heart of Leo, it rewinds the narrative of pride, power, and self-expression. It challenges our stories about who we are and how we project identity into the world. This isn't just a personal transit. It speaks to how nations brand themselves, how leaders rise and fall, how voices are heard or silenced, and how we reflect or distort our self-image, collectively and individually. To understand what Mercury retrograde in Leo means for us now, we must look backward. The script has been rehearsed many times before. 1900, July 18th to August 11th. Similar to these dates, Mercury retrograded from 15 to 3 degrees in Leo. This time it's retrograding from 15 to 4 degrees in Leo. On July 19th, 1900, the Paris Metro opened, transforming the subterranean world beneath a proud imperial capital. It was a new form of movement and modern identity. Mercury, guide of souls to the underworld, beneath the shining city of Paris. Mercury beneath Leo. That same week, the first Pan-African Conference convened in London, July 23rd to the 25th, giving voice to global Black intellect and cultural dignity. This was Leo's demand to be seen, heard, and celebrated. Just days later, King Umberto I of Italy was assassinated on July 29th by anarchist Gaetano Bresci, who sought vengeance for state-sanctioned violence. It was the karmic combustion of royal ego and populist outrage. Mercury retrograde reveals how power speaks and how the people answer. 1913. July 21st to August 14th, Mercury retrogrades from 18 to 6 degrees in Leo. In Uruguay, Russian settlers founded San Javier. On July 27th, forging a new identity on foreign soil, a Leo act of cultural reinvention. On August 2nd, the first recorded ascent of Mount Olympus, the mythical home of the gods, was completed by Swiss climbers. Leo reaches for the divine. That same week, Chongqing declared independence from the Beiyang government on August 4th, only to be suppressed, a proud rebellion that tested the limits of autonomy. On August 10th, the Treaty of Bucharest ended the Second Balkan War. Borders were redrawn, power reallocated, Mercury recalibrating national ego. On August 13th, stainless steel was invented by Harry Brearley in England, a material made to shine and endure. Leo's durability through Mercury's innovation. 1933, July 16th to August 9th. Mercury retrogrades from 13 to 2 degrees in Leo. On July 20th, Nazi Germany and the Vatican signed the Reichskonkordat, a pact fueling religious power with authoritarian statehood. Mercury's deal, Leo's spotlight. July 22nd, Wiley Post completed the first solo flight around the world, a singular triumph of will and technology. On August 1st, Roosevelt's New Deal icon, the Blue Eagle, was unveiled to the public, branding a national recovery with symbolic flair. The next day, the Soviet Union opened the White Sea-Baltic Canal, built by forced labor, a Leo monument constructed through suffering. On August 7th, the Sameli massacre unfolded in Iraq, where hundreds of Assyrian Christians were slaughtered. National pride twisted into ethnic violence. Mercury retrograde in Leo plays loud. It signs treaties and declarations. It launches icons. And sometimes it spills blood in the name of identity. 1946, July 19th to August 12th. Mercury retrogrades from 16 to 4 degrees in Leo. On July 22nd, the King David Hotel in Jerusalem was bombed by the Zionist group Irgun, targeting the British colonial government. Mercury's message of destruction, Leo's final word on imperial pride. On July 25th, the U.S. conducted an underwater nuclear bomb test at Bikini Atoll, a spectacle of raw power. That same day, 4 black sharecroppers were lynched in Georgia. The Moores Ford lynching marked the last mass lynching in American history. A Leo tragedy pulling back the curtain on racialized violence. On August 3rd, Santa Claus Land opened in Indiana, the first theme park in the U.S. Fantasy, family, and fun. Leo's innocent stage. An earthquake rocked the Dominican Republic on August 4th, reminding us that even Earth's spine can break. On August 7th, the USSR issued threats to Turkey over control of the Turkish Straits, the Cold War's opening act of saber-rattling and ego. 1959, July 22nd to August 15th, Mercury retrogrades from 19 to 7 degrees in Leo. Mercury poisoning in Japan's Minamata Bay was officially acknowledged on July 22nd. Hidden toxicity unearthed. Leo's pride in progress called into question. On July 24th, Nixon and Khrushchev sparred in the famous kitchen debate, a clash of Cold War egos staged in a model American kitchen. A hovercraft crossed the English Channel on July 25th, symbolic of futuristic pride and movement. On August 7th, Explorer 6 launched into space and by August 14th, sent back the first photograph of Earth from orbit. Humanity saw itself from above for the first time. Leo meets Cosmic Mirror. The very next day, Cyprus gained independence from Britain, cultural identity reclaimed. 1979, July 17th to August 10th. Mercury retrogrades from 14 to 3 degrees in Leo. The Nicaraguan Revolution succeeded July 17th to the 21st, toppling Somoza's dictatorship. A Leo rebellion reclaimed its voice. On July 22nd, Saddam Hussein purged the Ba'ath Party in Iraq, consolidating power through fear. A brutal Leo assertion of dominance. On August 3rd, a coup in Equatorial Guinea ousted dictator Macias Nguema by his own nephew. Family betrayal as political theater. On August 6th, Bahas released Bela Lugosi's Dead, launching goth rock, Leo's drama dressed in black. On August 10th, Michael Jackson dropped off the wall. A new icon was born. Leo crowned him with a glittering glove. 1992, July 19th to August 12th. Mercury retrogrades from 17 to 5 degrees in Leo. Italian anti-mafia judge Paolo Borsellino was assassinated on July 19th, a martyr for truth in a corrupt system. On July 20th, Václav Havel resigned as president of Czechoslovakia amid national fragmentation, a poetic voice silenced in transition. Pablo Escobar, the Colombian drug lord, escaped prison. On July 22nd, the underworld king re-emerged into the spotlight. On July 23rd, Abkhazia declared independence from Georgia, sparking a brutal war. Identity claimed through blood. From July 25th to August 9th, the Barcelona Olympics dazzled the world. National pride on parade. On July 31st, Georgia joined the United Nations, re-entering the global narrative. And on August 12th, the US, Canada, and Mexico announced NAFTA. Behind-the-scenes negotiations came into full view. 2012, July 14th to August 7th, Mercury retrogrades from 12 to 4 degrees in Leo. On July 20th, a mass shooting during the Dark Knight Rises in Aurora, Colorado, shocked the world. Theater turned tragedy. A Leo distortion of performance. On July 23rd, a solar flare narrowly missed Earth. A literal burst of solar Leo ego, nearly catastrophic. On July 30th to the 31st, a blackout plunged 620 million people in India into darkness. A massive communication breakdown. On August 6th, NASA's Curiosity rover landed on Mars. Humanity reached for the stars. Leo's courage and Mercury's innovation combined. Each Mercury retrograde in Leo peels back the layers of pride. It disturbs the polished image. It complicates the script. It asks, who has the mic? Who controls the narrative? What masks are they wearing and why? Expect leadership crises, image recalibrations, and bold self-invention. Sometimes we roar. Sometimes we're forced to listen to echoes we tried to silence. The spotlight is a sacred place. Mercury retrograde in Leo teaches us that not every voice that shouts deserves it, and not every truth that trembles in the wings should remain hidden. As the cycle returns again, look not only for what is said, but how. Watch who is performing and question whether the script still fits the role. Because sometimes the greatest revolution is a rewrite. That's my essay on Mercury's retrograde from teen to single digits in Leo. If you want to read it, I'm going to be sending it out this week. Subscribe to the email list. Send it out there. It's also going to be on my Substack. So what does that mean for right now? Okay, don't be surprised if there's some dramatic acts of violence. Don't be surprised if there are some dramatic inventions, maybe having to do with space exploration or some kind of technological advancement that progresses society into the future in a dramatic way. Is there going to be some sort of revolt or revolution occurring here? We'll see. But, check your heart, and any fears coming up with you, any sense of joy, follow your joy. Don't ignore your fear. And of course, if you're curious to learn how if you're curious to learn how Mercury retrograde is going to be affecting you directly, then I encourage you to contact me for a reading at theweeklytransit.com, and we will look at how Mercury retrograde is affecting you and how you can work with this energy to open your heart, face your fears, and listen courageously, confidently, and then be able to speak from that place of confidence and courage. The second transit of the week is the Sun, the giver of light, life, and vitality, transiting through the cardinal water sign, symbolized by the crab, Cancer, squaring off with the moon, the planetary ruler of Cancer, in the cardinal fire sign, symbolized by the ram, the sign where the sun is exalted, Aries. This is happening at 25 degrees, the same day as Mercury retrograde. So just to compound upon Mercury's retrograde is the sun squaring the moon. This occurs at 5:38 p.m. Pacific Daylight Savings Time on Thursday, July 17th. So really watch yourself, watch your emotions, watch your anger. There could be some emotional explosions happening on this Thursday, the day of Thor, big expressions of self. Check yourself, but do not suppress yourself on Thursday. When you think about the sun transiting through Cancer, it's urging you to take a look at your past. And the moon transiting through Aries is tapping into yourself. It's bringing your emotional sensitivity to yourself. So if you feel slighted, if you feel like somebody is being aggressive towards you, if you are being challenged in some way, and it's creating fear, it's creating anger, and anger is rooted in fear, then take a moment to reflect upon your past. Like you are getting insight into maybe trauma that you experienced in your past that is being brought up into your present reality. What is that trauma that you experienced in your past, and how is it reflecting in your present reality? How is your present reality how does it stem to your trauma of your past? If you can connect those dots, then you can also go back there and be there with your younger self. Do you have the courage to face your past and be there in those uncomfortable moments with your younger self and say, hey, I got your back. I got your back. I got your back, little Scott. I know that, you got pushed around here, they talked down to you or whatever was going on. But I'm going to be there in that moment right now. I'm going to tell them, hey, back off of this little kid right now. I see that you're afraid, you're hurting, and now you're trying to take that hurt and that pain and you're trying to put it on this child. Don't do that. I see you. Okay? And little Scott, it's okay. You made it through that point. Don't allow that to continue to be the story of your life. So when you feel that happening to yourself again, you need to react or respond differently than you did in the past. Because the response you had in your past, that was a trigger reaction of fear, of trying to protect yourself as a child as best you knew how. Now you have the ability to really take a moment, take a beat, recognize that you're an adult, and nobody can push you around like they did in the past. Because you're a man now. You're not a boy. The third transit of the week, Mercury Retrograde in Leo makes its first aspect with Venus in Gemini. This is a supportive aspect, which is occurring from Wednesday to Saturday, July 16th to the 19th, with the exact sextile occurring on Friday, July 18th. Frigg is the Old Norse god associated with the Roman god Venus. So, Venus is the goddess of love and beauty, the planet of relationships, transiting through the mutable air signs symbolized by the twins and ruled by Mercury, Gemini. This aspect between Mercury retrograde in Leo and Venus in Gemini is supporting you in asking questions. Having the courage to open your heart and ask questions in your relationships. I'm feeling threatened by you right now. I'm feeling a little bit of aggression from you. I'm feeling fear from you. Can you share more about where that's coming from? I'm not afraid. Oh, okay. Because that reaction is really kind of defensive, and it makes me feel like what I'm asking you is agitating you, and I don't want to agitate you. I want to quell the situation. And in order to quell the situation, I want to hear what's going on with you. Can you share with me what's going on with you? That's how you might want to approach conversations in relationships. From Wednesday to Saturday, especially on Thursday with the Sun square Moon and Mercury retrograde. Do you have the courage to be curious in your relationships, and do you have the courage to listen? To ask questions and listen to your partners? The fourth transit of the week is doubling down on facing your fears in your past, because the second transit was the Sun in Cancer squaring the Moon in Aries. The fourth transit is the Sun in Cancer squaring Chiron in Aries. Chiron is the wound in the ancient wisdom which is unlocked through healing that wound. That's occurring from Thursday to Sunday, with the exact square occurring on Saturday, July 19th. Oh boy, I got a wedding that day. Yay, what a fun day to be at a wedding. Seeing friends from the past. Oh boy, okay. So be mindful Saturday to pause, to trust what's going on within you, to acknowledge the fears that are occurring inside of you, reminding yourself that you're a man, you're not a boy, and even though some of these people, your relationship goes back to them, goes back to 30 years when you were young adults. That's what you want to call somebody in their late teens. From this perspective now, I look at that as a child in a grown person's body. But what formed in those past relationships? The mind was not fully formed at that point. And so the fears and insecurities that you brought with you from your childhood to young adulthood were then being reestablished and formed in your formative relationships. It was like abuse in another form. Abuse disguised as love. And now it doesn't feel good to receive that same sort of energy exchange. So maybe there's some work that needs to be done on Thursday, Friday to prepare for Saturday. Doing some deep meditation, really reflecting on the past of your relationships, and how the fears and insecurities that were established in your childhood were perpetuated in your young adulthood, and nurturing yourself through that process and recognizing that you attracted people into your life that followed that frequency of abuse that you experienced as a child. Be kind to yourself through that recognition. Nurture yourself. Remind yourself who you are today. Not who you were 30 years ago, not who you were 40, 50 years ago. You've grown. And so the frequencies between yourself and others, regardless of how old the relationship is, need to be adjusted. And sure, some of those friends aren't going to like the adjustment because they don't want to mature. It's like it's one thing when people say, oh, I only make fun of you because I love you. But it's interesting when the making fun part doesn't feel like love. It feels like there's the intention to hurt behind it. So these might be some days to be discerning about who are you connecting to from your past, and are these frequencies rooted in love, or are they rooted in some sort of vitriol that's meant to tear you down and hurt you? The final transit of the week involves Mars, the god of war, the planet of action, aggression, and conflict, transiting through Virgo, forming an opposition with the North Node retrograde in Pisces. This occurs from Thursday to Tuesday, July 17th to the 22nd, with the exact opposition occurring on Sunday, July 20th. Virgo is the mutable earth sign symbolized by the Virgin, ruled by Mercury. Opposing the North Node, the karmic pathway of the soul or soul's purpose, transiting through the mutable water sign symbolized by the fish, Pisces. With everything that's going on this week with Mercury retrograde through Leo, the sun in Cancer squaring the moon in Aries, the sun in Cancer squaring Chiron in Aries, Mercury retrograde in Leo, sextiling Venus in Gemini. These are all sort of culminating to this final transit, which is saying, do you have the courage to take a detailed look within your psyche? Do you have the courage to investigate in a detailed manner what is going on beneath the surface of your mind? the guilt, the shame, the regret, the blame? In what ways are you being hard on yourself in your daily life? In what ways are you being overly critical of yourself in your daily life? Your health, your diet, your job. That critical nature stems from guilt, shame, regret, or blame that exists within your psyche. So with Mercury transiting retrograde through Leo, you're saying, am I proud of how I speak to myself? Thinking about Mercury retrograde in Leo, coupled with Mars in Virgo opposing the North Node in Pisces, am I proud of how I speak to myself? Where do I confuse external validation with inner worth? Because I may not, just because I have that external validation doesn't mean that I'm treating myself well. Sometimes when we're yearning for external validation, it's because we are not treating ourselves well. If you're giving yourself all the love that you need, then you're not seeking that validation from others. It's nice to feel it from others. It's nice to receive it from others, but it's not 100% necessary. It's like, thank you for the compliment. I appreciate that. It means a lot to me. But it's not like, nobody likes me. Nobody wants to talk to me. Nobody wants to hear from me. What creative voice have you silenced that needs to express itself? You've silenced yourself because you're being hard on yourself. You feel like you don't deserve to be heard. But you do. Your voice matters, and your voice matters now more than ever. With Mercury in Leo and Pluto in Aquarius. It's encouraging you to speak up within the group construct and to listen to those individuals within the group. So where does your pride prevent you from learning or listening? Because if your pride is preventing you from learning or listening, it's because potentially you don't have the confidence within you, because you're being hard on yourself, to receive feedback from others. So you can see only 5 transits this week, but it's deep. There's a lot happening here with the heart, the mind, the unconscious, the conscious, relationships, the past, fears and insecurities. That's quite a soup. So I'm going to be on again this week with Delisa on Tuesday. I hope to see you there. If you've made it this far in the podcast, I thank you for listening. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Write a favorable comment or review. I appreciate all your support, and I'll look forward to seeing you or speaking to you next week. Thank you for listening to the Weekly Transit. If you're curious to learn how these transits or any other transits may be affecting you, or if you're interested in learning more about your astrological code, contact me for a reading at theweeklytransit.com. This episode was produced by me, Scott Tajarian. Music written by Ben Leinbach from Listen Deep by Amber Herzog Lyman. Wishing you all the best as you ride the planetary waves.